Welcome back to Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia. Specifically, we're at the Hall at Patriots Place, presented by Raytheon. He is Christopher Price, of course, the Patriots expert reporter for WEEI.com. Chris, it was interesting hearing when Logan Mankins speak today up in the red suite level area of Gillette Stadium, talking about his future with the Patriots. He has been here, as people I'm sure know by now, since 2004. He has been an integral part of this franchise on the field, and obviously one protecting Tom Brady. What were your takeaways from Logan Mankins today, and what he feels needs to be improved upon on the offensive line now that longtime offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia is no longer here?
Same as it ever was. Logan is nothing if not consistent. He is just straightforward. He's going to give it to you straight every time. He's one of the best interviews in the locker room on a consistent basis because he is never going to sugarcoat things. He says, we just talked to him, he said, look, things can always get better. We can always improve. If everyone thinks we have a game, there's always things that we could pick apart. There's always things that we could take a look at. It's going to be interesting to see this year, the first year, that offensive line without Dante Scarnecchia as the coach. In terms of a continuity perspective, it's going to be, I wonder how that group is going to look now, because again, they do have all five of those starters coming back. They have Logan, they have Nate Solder, they have Sebastian Vollmer, they have Dan Connolly, they have Ryan Wendell. All five of those starters are coming back. That does say something from a continuity perspective. The change in coaching, however, is going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch that group progress over the course of the spring and the summer going into the regular season.
One interesting question I thought today that was asked of Logan Mankins: what do you expect from the coaching staff? What do you think he expects?
I think he expects guidance. I will say this. You're not looking at a young group of offensive linemen. You're looking at a group of guys who've been there for a while. You're looking at a group of guys who put together some pretty good numbers over the course of their career. You're not looking for a new coach to come in and necessarily ride you hard. I think that was part of Dante's coaching style, and I think they enjoyed that. I think that the new coaching staff, it's going to be a challenge to be able to incorporate some of their thoughts as well as take what they can take from that group of veterans. So you're going to need to maybe meet in the middle a little bit. I think you're going to need to see that group of guys bend a little bit, and you're going to need to see the new coaching staff bend a little bit. And again, that's going to be one of those positions, even though they have five starters coming back in 2014, that's going to bear watching over the course of the spring and the summer.
See, the one thing that I get from a lot of fans that I talk to is the wonder that when are the Patriots going to get old? There's a concern there, either old or broken down or both. And that's obviously the one concern any Patriot fan has about protecting Tom Brady. Do you still think Logan Mankins represents an offensive line that's young and energetic and can still get the job done game in and game out protecting Tom Brady?
I think Logan can. I think 75% of Logan Mankins is still better than 100% of most guards in the league.
Why is that?
Because he's still one of the best, technique-wise, one of the best offensive linemen you're ever going to see. Now, he's been hobbled by injury over the last couple of years. It's funny, he joked about, nothing horrible, nothing catastrophic. He's been lucky over the course of his career since he came to the league in 2005. He hasn't suffered a major injury.
Well, he has. He can play through it, though.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly. He's a guy who's been able to play through it. He's a guy who's been able to really survive and thrive over the course of his career. Now, when you look at the exterior of that offensive line, when you look at Nate Solder and Sebastian Vollmer, those are guys who are a little bit on the younger side. Even though Sebastian came to the league, he was already a few years older than most rookies. The interior of that line, Dan Connolly's getting up there in years. Logan's getting up there in years. If they are going to address it in this draft, they're going to get an interior offensive line. I'm not saying that that's going to be a priority, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them go after an interior offensive lineman on day two. A guy that I keep hearing over and over again, a guy who was compared to Logan Mankins, was Xavier Suafilo, an offensive lineman, interior lineman out of UCLA. A guy we talked to at the Combine who says he loves Logan Mankins. He grew up on Logan Mankins, called him a badass, his kind of offensive lineman. If they do go after an offensive lineman in the draft this year, it's going to be one of those interior guys. Again, it might be a day two guy, more likely a day three guy. But in terms of those exterior guys, I think they're younger guys. Interior, you might need to get a little bit younger as, looking toward the draft and looking toward next year.
Well, it's funny you use the word badass, because what a segue I think that is into our next subject. And of course, Logan was asked about it. He went up against this badass every day in practice, and that would be 151 Brandon Spikes. Obviously, Brandon Spikes, and to a much lesser degree, Aqib Talib, took their shots out the door at the Patriots organization. But Brandon Spikes, bringing up the term slavery, bringing up the intimation, if you will, that the Patriots really hold you under Bill Belichick's thumb and don't let you move, don't let you allow you any freedom. And Logan was asked about that, and essentially he said, and quoting here, that's Brandon, just Brandon being Brandon. Your interpretation of what he said, and how much, Chris, you've been around him a lot, how much did Logan have to bite his tongue?
I think Logan had to bite his tongue, but I think Logan's been around here long enough where he understands the program. I don't know if he would have used such bland language maybe on the field. Logan's a guy who, as we all know, likes to play to the echo of the whistle,
yes,
not just the whistle.
Right.
So he is a guy who he's never one to hold back. And I think that's probably away from the cameras. He was just like that. I think, though, talking to us, he kind of had to hold back a little bit. Again, Logan knows the system. He's been in the program for a while, so he knows what's up. So it wasn't a surprise to hear that. I did love it. It's a great quote, though. It's Spikes being Spikes. He has a sense of humor. That's the way he's going to be.
What I really took away from that, Chris, was the fact that Logan said everybody around here knows the program.
Exactly.
And if
that's
anything puts a smile on Bill Belichick's face when you're being asked clearly a sensitive question like that about Brandon Spikes, it's him saying everybody knows the program, everybody knows the expectation.
The phrase he used, I think, was we all know we have it. We all know the way we do business. Right. And he says, we know what's going on. And so I think that was enough for him to say when it comes to this whole Spikes process. It's been interesting. Not a lot of other guys have addressed that this offseason. I think that's something that we in the media, I think, we're going to be talking with more guys. We're going to be talking with more captains over the next few weeks. And maybe that's something that we need to get into more of. How the Patriots operate, how the Patriots do this. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of the captains follow Logan's mantra that he laid down today. But it'll be interesting to see going forward.
Any other surprises you think the Patriots might pull in the days leading up to the draft?
I don't think that there are going to be any surprises leading up to the draft. I do think that them sticking at number 29 is unlikely. I'll say that. I think history tells us.
Down?
I think down. I think when you look at this draft and you look at specifically the areas of need that you would identify as Patriots issues, I think the Patriots are going to trade back. I think they're going to trade back out at 29. They were at 29 last year. They traded out of the first round. They ended up getting Jamie Collins. I wouldn't be surprised to see them trade out of the first round this year. Maybe go after a wide receiver. Maybe go after, like we talked about before, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, one of those bodies as well. So the chances of them sticking at 29 are not great, I'll say.
And for the first time of about 5,000 times over the next couple of weeks leading into the draft, I'll mention why. Value. And that's just really what it's all about down here in Foxborough when you talk about the Patriots, Bill Belichick, and the NFL draft. As always, it's a pleasure, Chris. He is Christopher Price. I'm Mike Petraglia at the Hall of Patriots Place, presented by Raytheon, WEEI.com.